Hey everyone, so this is going to be about the important lessons that can be learned from this book known as Man's Search for Meaning. So this book is written by Viktor Frankl, who was a professor of neurology and psychiatry. He published about 30 books that have been translated into 23 languages. And another important fact about him is that he, during the World War II, he spent about 3 years working as an inmate in concentration camps in Auschwitz. And it is about these experiences in those concentration camps that he talked about in this book that can help us learn some important lessons. So one of the important lessons that can be learned here is related to the man's lost freedom, and that is the freedom to choose his attitude to a given set of circumstances. Now, no matter how hard the circumstances or how inhumane the sufferings, it is the man's inner decision that defines his attitude under a given set of circumstances. Now, to further illustrate this point, Frankl talked about a few prisoners who were able to rise above their sufferings but not renouncing their dignity and staying true to their values. And they would often walk out at night and give away their last piece of bread to those in need. And this was enough of an example to show that the sort of a person an inmate became was the result of his inner decision and not the camp influences. Now, what really helps going through the toughest of circumstances is being able to look through the future towards a meaning in life. And that is what the next lesson is about. So a person who can look through the future towards a meaning in life can transcend through all the levels of predicament. In fact, a person can only live by looking at the future. So here Viktor Frankl gave an example of how this can be done. So he once described that he was going through a lot of pain and was disgusted by the state of the affairs. But once he started to force his thoughts towards another subject and started to visualize himself giving a lecture on the psychology of the concentration camp, that is when he started to view all the sufferings objectively, and that is when he found a meaning in all of those sufferings. And that is how he was able to rise above all of those sufferings. And on the same note, there is a saying that goes, "He who has a why to live can bear with almost any how." And on the other hand, there were a number of other prisoners who had lost all the hope, who could not look through the future, and that is why they lost all the resistance to all the sufferings and died while in concentration camps. Now, another point here related to this lesson is that this meaning of a man tends to be very elastic. It changes from one person to another, and even for any one specific person, it changes from time to time. It does not stay constant. So moving on. So here is another important lesson that can be learned, and that is about success. The more you aim for success and the more you aim for happiness, the more you are going to miss it. So the way to deal with that is that it must only happen as the unintended side effect, a byproduct of one's dedication towards a much bigger aim, like being part of something much bigger than yourself. So the takeaway here is that you have to let it happen by not caring about it. And moving on. Now the next lesson here is about the love. So here Frankl talks about a man who has got absolutely nothing left in this world may still experience happiness through love. Here he talked about how the memory of his wife and the mental conversations that he was able to have with his wife in his mind, how that helped him escape the harsh realities of the life in the concentration camp. And even though at that time he wasn't sure whether his wife was alive or not, but just the memories and the mental conversation he had was enough to help him escape his sufferings. And then moving on towards the last lesson, and that is about two wrongs don't make a right. So here Frankl talked about there were some prisoners who, once freed, would use the argument of having gone through the worst of the circumstances, worst of the sufferings to justify their wrongdoing. And only slowly and gradually could these men be guided towards the commonplace truth that, and that is that no one has the right to do wrong, and there might you might have gone through you might have had wrong done to yourself, but that is never a justification for you to do any wrong. So alright, that's pretty much it. Hope you liked the video, and if you did, make sure to like this video, and if you would like to listen to a similar content, make sure to subscribe. Thank you.